Hello, I'm Jeannette with TLG Learning, a Train-a-Cake company. Welcome to our Microsoft Teams webinar and demonstration. Working from home and using Microsoft Teams is not new for me, but with the state of the world today, many of you may have been told to work from home and use Microsoft Teams without much guidance. Today, I plan to share with you some basic features of Teams. Please know we are not going to have time to do a deep dive or cover all features. But my hope is that you will gain some insights on how to better use some of the basic communication features. TLG Learning offers a half-day class that does the deep dive into Teams features. But for now, let's get started on the basics. At the end of the webinar, we will have a few minutes for question and answers. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat during the webinar. So what is Teams? Teams is a chat-based collaboration product that's part of the Office 365 suite. The idea is for you to be in Teams your entire business day. It allows for people to collaborate using multiple forms of communication, including chat, meetings, and working with files. Although this is a demo of the Teams application, today I'm only sharing what you need right now for communicating successfully. To learn to fully use Teams, including creating and working with teams, please consider signing up for TLG Learning's half-day class. But today we are going to talk about how to access Teams, some basic navigation, how to use the chat feature, which is the same as Instant Messenger with more features, scheduling and attending meetings, and how to upload and open files for review and/or for collaboration. To access Teams, just from the basics, open up any browser that you would like to use and go to theoffice.com/signin. From there, you will enter in your Office 365 credentials and hit your next. This is going to open up a screen where you're going to have the option to actually open SharePoint, Outlook, and Teams. You may have other options depending on your organization's Office 365 subscription, but today, our focus is on Teams. When I click on the Teams icon, I get the option to use either the web app or get the Windows app. Now, if you are already using your Office laptop, you may already have the Windows app installed. All you need to do is launch the program from your Start menu. You should know that it is not necessary to access and remote into your company computer to use Teams. If you remote into your Office computer and launch Teams from that computer, you will not have audio. So it's important that you either download the Windows app on the machine you are physically working from, or you use the web app. There's very little differences when I look at using either the Windows app or the web app. The Windows app has things like auto start and some settings, but otherwise the environment for either the Windows app or the web app are going to be exactly the same. I will say, however, if you run into problems and you're using the web app, you may want to actually install that Windows app. It only takes a few moments. You also have the ability to download the mobile app and access Teams on your phone. So let's look a little bit about the environment of Teams. Over on the left-hand side of the screen, we have what's called the navigation pane. In the navigation pane, it is doing exactly what we say, is we are navigating around the Teams environment. In this particular screenshot, I could get into my calendar, my calls, or I could go into the chat screen. I also could see the activity. So if I've been mentioned within the Teams environment where someone has done an @ and then my name, I'm going to see an icon with a number. In this case, I've only been mentioned one time. That number could increase to 2, 3, and so on. Also, I can see that I have one chat that I haven't taken and acknowledged. With that, all I have to do is click on the chat window, reply to the chat. However, you may see that if someone chats with you, you'll actually get a balloon on your screen. So if I'm in my calendar and someone sends me a chat, I don't need to switch over to chat to see it. I can read the chat in the balloon and then go and reply to it later if I need to. Up at the top of the screen, we have what's called the command bar. The command bar allows me to quickly do commands within the Teams environment. So I can set my availability status from the command bar with a slash, and then what is it that I need to say? I can do /busy to set my availability to busy. If I want to chat with somebody, I'm looking at my calendar and I realize, ooh, I need to go ahead and chat with Will. I can go ahead and up in the command bar, do /chat, say I want to chat with Will, and then enter in the chat and it will send it to Will. I'm going to demonstrate that here in just a little bit. We also have our profile icon, just like we have in Office 365. This is where if I needed to log out of Teams, I would click on my profile icon and I could log out. More importantly, at this stage in the game, I'm going to use my profile icon to actually set my availability. Am I available? Am I busy? Will I be right back? We're also going to take a look at using the chat features. When we go to use chat, there's a couple different ways to actually get in and start a chat. But one of the easy ways, regardless of where I'm in within the Teams environment, is I can click the new chat button just to the left of that command bar. When I click on the new chat button, I then type in who it is that I want to chat with. And in my organization, if they're within the organization and I start typing their name, then Teams will automatically start to autofill and look for that person. So if I'm looking for Steve and I start typing S, I'm going to get Sue, I'm going to get Stu, I'm going to get anybody whose name starts with an S. If I then add in a T, I'm going to get Stu, I'm going to get Steve, and so on. So then I can just select who it is I'm trying to chat with. From there, at the bottom of the chat window, I'm going to be able to enter in the new message. When I enter in the new message, all I need to do is type in what it is that I want to say and then hit enter. That in itself will send my chat. I do have some additional buttons at the bottom of the window. We're going to talk about those here in just a little bit within the demonstration. One of the things I do want to mention, though, at this stage in the game is that if I do want to do additional formatting, like if I need to do a bulleted list or a numbered list, or I need to insert a hyperlink, I'm going to click on the Format button. And that's going to allow me to basically do some basic formatting like I would use maybe in Microsoft Word. The thing I want to mention to you about chat is a great way to start reducing your emails. You and your coworkers or you and your clients can actually use chat for quick information instead of sending emails back and forth. And it's real time. And because I can see the status of my coworkers, I know if they're available to actually chat and answer questions that I may have. Another thing that we see within the chat window is sometimes when I'm chatting with somebody, I find that it would be easier if we could just talk or if I could just show them my desktop. And if that's the case, then I can actually come in and I can go up to the top of the chat window and I can choose to do a video call, make just a phone call, share my desktop, or I can even add people into the chat. So if I find that while I'm chatting with Will, that Mark may have some information, we can just include Mark, so long as he's available, into our chat. We're also going to be taking a look at scheduling meetings. Now, one of the things I want to mention about meetings is that your team meetings and your calendar and your Outlook calendar and Outlook meetings are synced, meaning that if I create a meeting in Outlook, I will see it in my calendar in Teams and vice versa. And creating a meeting in Teams is very similar to the types of meetings you may have been creating in Outlook. Now, I can choose to meet now. So that means that that's an instant meeting. As long as the people are available that I need to meet with, I can just meet now and we can start that meeting. We can also go in and schedule a meeting just by clicking on New Meeting. When I click on the new meeting, from there I'm going to have to fill in the details. So who is it that I need to attend this meeting? What time is the meeting going to be? And what's the agenda going to be? I have some other options that I can add into that. We'll talk about that when we do the demo. One of my favorite features, though, that I want to make sure I mention is the scheduling assistant. So just like in Outlook, where I could look and see if people already are busy at the time that I want to schedule my meeting, I can do that within my meetings for Teams. If you are creating a Teams meeting in Outlook, the only difference is that on the ribbon, I have to select the new Teams meeting icon. That's going to actually add in the information that my attendees are going to need to actually join my team meeting. Once I have the meeting on the calendar, when it gets to where it's close for that meeting to start, you may see an actual join button on your calendar. If, however, you don't see the join button, no worries. You can actually join the Teams meeting by just opening up the meeting item on your calendar, either from Outlook or from Teams. Depending on how your organization is set up for making calls, you may also have the ability to put dial-in information. So if someone is going to not be able to attend using their laptop or PC, they can dial in and get a conference ID to actually join that meeting. However, if you join the meeting using your PC or your laptop, well, from there, you will actually have the options to actually turn on your video, turn on your mic or mute your mic, share your desktop. Now, anytime that you see these three dots, that means you're going to have more options. When I click on the More Options button, it's going to open up a menu of options. One of the options I want to mention here is Show Device Settings. One of the things that can happen is you join a meeting and you can't hear anybody. You can tell that they're talking because maybe there's the videos on, but you can't hear them. Or they say they can't hear you. You may need to go into Show Device Settings and make sure that your team meeting is recognizing the correct speaker that you're using and the correct microphone that you're using. Another thing that's nice in here is that if your system is set up correctly or it has the hardware for the setup, you can actually blur your background. So you may not want your coworkers or your clients to see what you have behind you. Microsoft just said last week that they are going to be releasing an additional feature coming very soon where you can actually raise your hand. When you're in a meeting with a lot of people, it can be kind of frustrating when people start talking over each other. So the raise hand feature will be really nice for that. Another feature that's going to be coming out is actually blurring background noise. So that will also help if you're working from home, your kids are home, you have your pets, right? We can go ahead and we'll be able to do that. Those features aren't out yet, but it will be nice when they are. For now, though, if you're in a meeting with a lot of people, you may want to turn on the meeting chat. This way, if everyone is muted except for the main person talking, we can actually maybe answer some questions and not have to unmute and talk to everybody. We could just put it in a chat. We can also go in and see the participants that are going to be in our meeting. So this is a nice feature. If I have that I've invited 10 people to my meeting and I can see that not everyone's in the meeting yet, I can go into the Show Participants, see who hasn't joined us yet. I can see who's actually in the meeting. And then, of course, the last button there is to hang up from our meeting. The last thing we're going to be taking a look at today in our demo is actually opening and working with files. So the first thing we want to know is how to upload files. So in addition to the chat features that we're going to look at and the meetings features we're going to look at, there's also these features to create teams based on projects, based on departments, however your organizational governance is for how you create your teams. We have these different teams. So you could have a department team. In that department team, you can have what's called different channels. Every team comes with a general channel, but you can create additional channels maybe based on project A, project B. When I have these different channels, I then have the ability to upload and open files from my channel file tabs. And something we want to keep in mind about these files is that they work very similar to our SharePoint document libraries. As a matter of fact, Teams is actually part of SharePoint, and the documents actually show up in a SharePoint document library. Because of this, documents can easily be shared and collaborated on just like they were in SharePoint. You even have version history. So you don't need to open up your Word documents and then give them a different name. You actually just open up your Word document, make your changes, and depending on how you open those documents, you don't even have to hit save. And I'm going to show you how that works. Another thing that we can do with our documents from Teams, just like in SharePoint, we can use co-authoring. So multiple people can be working on the same file at the same time. However, if you don't want that to happen, you can use checkout. Today I am going to show you how to actually add files to a team channel and how to open a document for editing. Uploading files into your Teams channel is easy enough. You just drag the file into the channel. You can also go in and you'll see that there is an upload button that you can use. You can add both files and folders if you need to. Opening your files, you can just go in, click on the file. It's going to open up in Teams, and basically what it's going to be like an online version with less features of your full versions of like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Now you can also hover over your document and you can get into the More buttons. When you go to the More buttons, you can open your files from here. You could download your files. Files can be deleted from this location, and you can even go in and open in SharePoint. So you can actually go straight out to that SharePoint document library. Well, let's go ahead and get into doing our demo. So I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint here, and we're going to go into our Teams environment. The Teams environment that I'm working with today is the Windows environment. So the only thing I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing the waffle for the Office 365. Now that I'm in my environment, you'll see that in this particular one, I don't have any activities. I have one chat that I haven't looked at. And here I also have the ability to get into the Teams environment, where right now I have one team called Proposo with two channels, General and Project A. I can also get into my calendar here, and I can even make phone calls and get into my contacts within this navigation pane. Up here on the top, this is where I actually have my command bar. And over here on my right is my profile icon. I'm going to click on my profile icon, and I'm going to set my availability to busy. Other options that we have for setting our availability is going to be, I'm setting it to available. It's busy, do not disturb, be right back, and appear away. So I've set my availability to available. I am in my calls, in my contacts, and I realize I'm getting ready to do something else, and I'm not going to be available for a little bit. So I'm going to click up onto my command bar. I'm going to do / and I'm going to type in busy. And if you didn't notice there, before I put in my busy, you can see that I have quite a few commands that I can just start typing in. But by putting in here that I'm busy, watch what happens to my profile icon when I hit enter. It changes my status for me. So I don't even have to go up to that drop down. I just need to start learning some of these command shortcuts. Well, now let's take a look at chat. So I do currently have a chat in here, and I'm not going to go take a look at that chat. It's actually our organization uses Teams, and right now we're doing daily check-ins to see how everyone's doing, because most of our staff is working from their home offices. Okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to actually start using a chat. I want to go ahead and I want to create a new chat. So I'm going to click on the new chat button up to the left of the command bar. When I click on that, I just need to start typing who is it that I want to chat with. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to type in here a student, and I want to chat with student 53. Student 53 isn't in my list, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my 53. And there I have student 53. When I click on student 53, I can now, at the bottom of my screen, see that I can type in my messages. So I'm going to go ahead, and student 53 today, just so you know, that's Will. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, hi, Will, and hit enter. Now, some options that we have down here at the bottom of our enter new chat, there's going to be that format. I can also set an importance level. Here I can see that Will is replying to my chat. Other things that I can do here is I can add in an attachment, a file attachment, and I do have my emojis that I can add. Some of the other options here are going to be dependent based on your organization setup. And here I can see Will has actually answered me. And I can also see Will's status right there, that green dot. I could see that he is available. If I was to go into my contacts and take a look at one of my other students, here I can see that student 52 is currently away. So they're going to be back. They're working today. They're not showing as busy. They're just showing away. That's what the yellow means. So I could even go in and I could set in a notification to let me know when that person is available again, which I think is a really great feature, one of my favorites. Now, when I come down here, and I do want to show you how to add an emoji here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send Will a smiley face. I'm going to hit enter. However, if I want to send a chat, and let's say that I'm over on my calendar, and I realize that Will and I were going to go out for lunch today, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a meeting that's coming up. Our plans changed, right? I'm working from home. Will and I are miles away, and we're just not going to be able to meet up at a drive-through anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and from my calendar, I'm going to do that slash. I'm going to type in chat. Hit my tab key. It wants to know, who is it that I want to chat with? Well, I want to chat with a student. And I'm going to choose 53. And I'm going to hit my tab key. And right here, I don't even have to go over to the chat window. I can just type in my chat message. I can say, sorry, Will, won't be able to make lunch. Hit my enter key. Will's going to get that chat, and he can even reply. Now, in our demonstration today, the screen you're seeing is not my main screen. So if Will replies to me, you won't get to see the balloon of his reply. But he did write, that's okay. I can go over and I can look at the chats. And I can see here that Will has put, that's okay, we'll connect later, right? So without even having to switch to that chat window, I can communicate with my coworker. I do want to show you, though, the features of getting into additional formatting here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the first button down in my chat window, which is the A with the little paintbrush. And I'm going to tell Will, I say, Will, I need you to complete some items on our proposal. And then I'm going to create a bulleted list right here. So I have the options to choose a bulleted list, a numbered list. You could even do indents if you needed to. There we go. And I'm going to put in here item 1, item 2, and so on. I can also tell Will, check out this website. It will be helpful. And I'm going to do a misspelling there, okay? One of the things I want to point out here is that I can actually use autocorrect and autocorrect and spell it features just like we have in Word. So I just right-click, fix that website, right-click, fix on helpful. Again, it's the program trying to make sure that I'm not looking silly, right? I'm going to go ahead and click on Insert Link. So if you can see where I'm at here, my Insert Link is just the double links, like a chain link. I click on my Insert Link, and the text I want to display is TLG Learning. From there, I'm going to put in the URL, which is going to be our tlglearning.com. And I'm going to click on Insert. In this case, if I hit Enter, well, it's just going to give me some more lines. It's not going to send my actual chat because, and when I'm in this additional formatting, it's like being in a Word online version. So instead, what I have to do is click on the little send button down here. It looks like a paper airplane to me, down at the bottom of my chat window. I'm going to go ahead and give that a click. Will's going to go ahead, he's going to send me back an emoji here to let me know that he got my message. Now I realize that this proposal information, that maybe Will and I need to talk about some stuff. So instead of going in and chatting back and forth, I'm going to come up to the top of my screen, and I can either do a video call, just make a phone call, or if Will needed me to look at his desktop or the other way around, I could just go ahead and share my desktop. But I'm going to go ahead and make a phone call to Will. Because we are already in this chat, when I hit this phone call, it would actually include everybody in the chat. So if I was having multiple people in this chat, everyone would be included in on the conference call. I'm giving Will a call here. We'll give him a second to answer that call. Now that Will has answered, I actually have the options that I have for meetings. So down here I can see that the meeting has been running for 10 seconds. I could turn on my video. Will could turn on his video. Here I have my microphone. I'm going to mute my microphone because I want to make sure you guys aren't hearing me twice. I could also share my desktop. And this is where I could go into the more options. Here I can go in and I can see the chat that Will and I have already been talking about. And I can see the participants that are involved in this phone call. For now, I'm going to go ahead and hang up.
Sorry, Jeannette, it didn't work.
That's all right, Will. You can go ahead and hang up out of that meeting. The last thing I want to show us here in chat is how to add people. So here I have my student 53, which is Will, and Will and I realized that we need to include Ivy on our chat. So I'm going to come over to the far right-hand side, and I'm going to click on Add People. And I just go ahead and type in who is it that I want to include. So I'm going to type in student, and Ivy is going to be student 52. Now, if she was available and I added her, she would be part of this chat. Notice that it does start a new chat, but I do want to mention that chat in Teams is persistent. So if the three of us had had a previous chat, even 3 weeks ago, and now we're starting another chat, I would see those chats in my chat window, right? So persistent means is that regardless of how long it's been since we've chatted before, I will see those chats. Depending on your organization, you may have the ability to edit and delete chats, but in government organizations, that's not a thing because the chat actually becomes part of public records. So your organization can actually turn features on and off. You do want to be aware of that. Well, that's all I have about chat right now. So now let's go in and let's talk about scheduling some meetings. So I'm going to come down to my navigation pane and I'm going to click on the calendar. When I click on my calendar, if I choose the Meet Now, right? Now you can see me, okay? And in my Meet Now, I can actually join a meeting and start a meeting with people. One of the things I want to mention in here is I can actually turn my microphone off before I actually join a meeting. But I'm not going to join a Meet Now right now, so I'm going to hit close. We want to talk about actually scheduling our meeting. So I'm going to click on New Meeting. When I get into my new meeting, just like in Outlook, I would need to give it a title, who is required to attend the meeting, when is the meeting going to take place. You can even have this be repeating meetings. And if this meeting is pertaining to a specific project, you can add information about the channel and connect directly to your team channel. If there is going to be a physical location, you could add that. And then, of course, you can add the details for your meeting agenda. Another way to actually create a team meeting that I think is a really good feature that actually Will showed me this, and that is you can actually drag into the time area that you want to create your meeting for. So I go ahead and it's going to open up the exact same screen. So I'm going to create a meeting. I'm going to say, we'll do a check-in meeting on our proposal. My required attendees, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to include student 52, and we'll do student 53. I will add them in here. My meeting is already, the time's already picked because I did the drag within the calendar there. And then I would go ahead and I would add in any additional details that I needed to add in. Once I have all of that information in, I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Now, I would show you how this looks in Outlook, but for this demonstration, I don't want our focus to go out of Teams. So you're just going to have to trust me that this does sync over to your Outlook calendar. When I have the meeting scheduled and I open up the meeting, I can just double click. And even though this meeting isn't supposed to start for another hour and a half or so, I can still open up the meeting item. In our example for our classroom, we don't actually have phones attached, so you're not seeing the dial-in information. But in your situation, you may see dial-in information that you can actually use. I've had sometimes where people just can't get their devices to connect correctly, and so in there, they just use the dial-in instead. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to join this meeting. When I join, again, I can see how I look on camera prior to actually joining the meeting. I can also mute my microphone prior to joining the meeting, and I can go ahead and click on Join Now. When I join my meeting, right, I'm going to have the options down at the bottom of the window to actually make adjustments to how people see me and what's going on inside of that meeting. So if I don't want people to see me on camera, I can turn off that camera. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. This is your only opportunity to get to see me today, so hi. Okay. I can also share my desktop. If I share my desktop, I actually have multiple monitors on my system, so I can either share the desktop for my main screen. I can just share specific windows with my participants, so maybe I don't want them to see my taskbar. I can scroll down and I can see that I can also look at my other screens. So I have 3 screens on my system. You can also get into a whiteboard if you want to do some drawing in here. We're not going to go there right now. Okay? I'm not going to actually share my desktop today, so I'm just going to click out of that. I am going to go to my More Options, though. And in my More Options, a couple features that I want to share with you is actually this Show the Device Settings. So if you are having problems with your audio, you show device settings. And in here, you'll see that I've got for my speakers, if I click my down arrow, I actually have a couple speaker systems for my computer to choose from. And so it may just be choosing the wrong speaker systems. So I would just pick the other one and see if that works. Normally it does. I get that same thing with my microphone and with my cameras. I actually, in my system, have a couple different cameras to choose from. So I'm going to leave those settings the way they are. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to close that. I have, just like I had before, where I can show the conversation. So if I have multiple people in here and we want to answer questions or communicate without unmuting, this is where we want to do that. It's actually right now considered a best practice. And I can see my attendees list. So I can see that I actually invited student 52 and student 53. I can see here that student 52 is still away. However, student 53 is available, and maybe they just like looked away and they didn't realize that they have this meeting to come to. So I might want to reach out to them by contacting them in a chat or even giving them a call. And then the last thing I can do here is I can hang up. So actually working with meetings, not much different from actually working with meetings in your Outlook. except that we do have a few different additional options and features that we can choose from. And I actually find that attending Teams meetings is actually, I like it better than actually getting into Outlook meetings. I just feel like I have a little bit more control, especially over setting up my devices and not having that struggle. Now, the last thing I want us to take a look at today is actually working with our files. When we get into our files, the things we want to take a look at here is I have a single team proposal. In here, I have a channel for general and I have a channel for project A. Both of these channels have post, files, and wikis, which you could remove, but we want to look at files. So if I come into my general files and I want to upload some files, I can click right here to upload files. Give that a click. I'm going to go to my desktop and I have some files out here called managing documents. And I'm going to throw in a document here called coffee houses. Over on the right-hand side, I saw that it was uploading one document. It was telling me that it was everything was going great, so no worries there. There I have my document. If I go to Project A and go to Files there, you'll see that the coffee house document is not in these files because these are two separate channels. So Project A in general have different things to focus on. Just like if I had in my department multiple projects that I was working on. If I had Project A, Project B, and so on. Well, this time, instead of actually bringing in individual files, I want to just drag over an entire folder into my system. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I want to grab this navigation and organization, just drag that into my files tab for the Project A. I can see here that it's uploading 12 items. So it's brought in all of those items, and it just did that a few seconds ago. So again, if I go back to the general channel and I look at files, you're not going to see that folder. I'm going to go ahead and return to Project A, back to my files. And now that you know how to actually upload files and folders, let's talk about actually getting into the files themselves. In here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up Coffee History. I just need to click on the file to actually open that up. When I open up the file in Teams, I get a way to edit this document within the Teams environment. This is not giving me all of the features of Microsoft Word, but it's giving me some basic editing features. So I can go ahead and just select, say, coffee history here, or the history of coffee, and I could change my font color. I can underline, make it bold. I could even change the font here. Go ahead and give it something that we'll be able to see. I don't have to hit save. All I have to do is come over to the right-hand side of my screen, and if you look, all I need to do is hit close. Now, in here, what we see in our modified is that all of my other files were uploaded about a minute ago, but coffee history, it was modified a few seconds ago. So without even hitting save, the file is saved. Now you do have other options for editing your documents. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up Green Coffee Doc in my Teams environment. And I realize that I want to make some more adjustments to it. And maybe I want to use some of the features that I don't have here. I want to use more of the features in Microsoft Word. And so as I go through, I'm like, I'm not getting everything I want to get here. So I want to open it up in the desktop app. So I'm going to click on, again, we have the more options. I'm going to click on my more options, and I'm going to choose Open in Desktop App. This is going to open my file up in my Microsoft Word client on my machine. I'm going to take it just a second here to open up. So now that my file has opened up in Microsoft Word, I can now use the Word features. So if I go to Reference here, if I wanted to get into some of the additional options, like maybe I need to set up some cross references, or maybe I need to mark it for doing a table of index, I have those options here. I can go in and I can make changes. And so a change that I'm going to make here is I'm going to add a page border. I'm going to go into my border and shading, go to my page borders, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in some art here. You know what I think goes good with coffee? I think cupcakes. I think those are cupcakes. Well, it is at least cake. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on my document here. Now, here's the thing. I don't have to save this document. Up here at the top of my screen, if you look at my title bar, it's telling me that it is saving. Over on my Save button on my Quick Access toolbar, you'll see that it has the refresh icon with the Save button. Now, you don't have to save, but if you're not comfortable with it, it doesn't hurt to hit it. It will save it. And now all I need to do is close out of this document. Now, because I used a feature that was actually not part of the inside the Word online version, I'm not going to see my page border here. But if I go in and I close out of this particular screen, it's going to take me back to my list. So all I need to do here, click on Close, and you'll see that now what I have in my modified is that I can see that I uploaded my documents 6 minutes ago. I actually changed coffee history about 4 minutes ago. And my green coffee, I modified that about a minute ago. If I do open up this document, so if I click on the More button next to the document, and I tell it to go ahead and open in Word, we will see that it does have my cake to go with my coffee. All right, so that brings us to the end of our demonstration. So the things that we looked at today was actually looking at opening up the Team app, using it either with our Windows app or with our web app. And so there are advantages to using the Windows app over the web app. And one of those big advantages would be is that you can get in and you can set it to auto start, or you can go up and you can set up your devices, okay? You can also, we looked at navigating in Teams, and we did this kind of quick. There's a few more things to that we cover in our class, okay? But I want you to at least feel a little comfortable about how to get around there, and especially going in and setting your availability. So clicking on your profile icon and setting, are you available? Are you busy? What's your status right now? We then took a look at using chat. So you can use the command bar, and there's more that we can do with the command bar, but we used it to just do the /chat, put in who we want to chat with, and then we typed in our message. Other things that we can do in chat that we did real quick is we opened up the additional formatting options and we added a bulleted list. We could do the same thing with a numbered list. And there again, there's additional options in there. We also, one of my favorite features was I was able to supply a hyperlink to the person I'm chatting with, so that instead of me sending them an email saying, go check out this website, I put it right in the chat. They can click on that and go right to it. We can also share our desktop, and we can do a meet now right from that chat window. We got into our meetings. We looked at how to schedule a meeting just by going up to the new meeting button. Or you can also just drag within the calendar the time slot for when you want your meeting. Put in the details that you need. For joining our meetings, we just go ahead, open up the meeting, click the join button. From there, we have additional settings, such as going in and turning off our mic, blurring our background, setting our devices, opening up the chat window, and even looking at the participants. When we get into working with files, from there we are getting into an area that we didn't fully look in and deep dive into today. And that is actually creating teams and creating channels. And how do we work with those to organize our projects, right? And so we got into just knowing how to upload files so that if we are already members of a team, we know how to add files to our Files tab, and also how to open up those files and understand that those files work just like they do in SharePoint. You do not need to do a save as and upload your version of the file, because version history is something that we have available in our Teams File tab. We can also co-author our documents. So we don't have to do, I'm going to save my version, then you open it up and you do your version. We can do it together. And if we don't want that to happen, we do have the ability to use checkout. I do appreciate you spending the time to go over the webinar and look at the demonstration with me. I hope that you have found some really useful information on how to communicate effectively using the Teams application. You can get more information about our Teams training and other available classes by going to our website, tlglearning.com. You can also contact us at 1-800-460-2298. The Teams training is offered as a half-day class, and not just the Teams training, but all of our classes can be attended from anywhere, and we do offer online registration. You can also visit us on our LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. Thank you for attending, and we're going to take a look at some of your questions now. Thank you.